The moment I step into my hotel room, I know the drill. Traveling for work is monotonous, and I've developed a ritual. Check the minibar, inspect the bed, and test the TV. Tonight is no different, until I flip on the news. The screen shows a live broadcast of a fire ripping through a grand Victorian hotel, smoke billowing into the night. My eyes narrow. Something about this scene feels eerily familiar. Then it hits me. The reporter says the name of my small hometown. I lean closer, heart racing. This is no ordinary news story. It's happening near my house, in a hotel I've driven past countless times. As the camera pans, I freeze. There, in the rescue footage, are two figures being lowered from a fire truck's cherry picker. They're clad in nothing but bathrobes and oxygen masks. And one of them, oh God, one of them is unmistakably my wife, Lisa. Her signature handbag, a gift from me, dangles from her wrist. Beside her is a man, equally disheveled. I don't need to guess who he is. It's Eric, my so-called best friend. My blood runs cold as the reporter talks about the fire's suspicious origins. Betrayal mixes with a deep, simmering rage. I clench my fists and take a deep breath, steadying myself. This isn't just about an affair anymore. Something much bigger is at play. The phone burns in my pocket. I pull it out and dial Lisa's number. No answer. My jaw tightens. If she's not at home, then where the hell is she now? Lisa, I whisper under my breath, staring at her image frozen on the screen. You've got some explaining to do. I sit on the edge of the hotel bed, the cheap upholstery scratching at my palms as the news replays on a loop. My wife and Eric, escaping a burning building at 4 in the morning. They weren't there for a meeting. No, this was personal, and now it's my move. Grabbing my laptop, I start connecting the dots. I pull up Lisa's phone records, thanks to our shared account, and cross-reference them with Eric's no number. There it is, a web of late-night calls and cryptic texts over the last 6 months. My gut clenches as I scan messages like, "Tonight at the usual place," and "Room 204 is booked." The sting of betrayal threatens to cloud my judgment, but I push it aside. Not yet. If I'm going to confront her, I need everything. My next step is the hotel footage. The Victorian building had security cameras, ones I'd installed as part of a consultation job last year. I still have contacts at the local security firm. Within minutes, I'm on the phone with Paul, the systems administrator. "Paul, it's Tyler. You've seen the news, right?" He grunts. "Yeah, hell of a fire. What's up?" "I need access to the footage from last night. Full coverage of the lobby, parking lot, anything the cameras picked up." Paul hesitates. "What for?" "That's police business now." "It's personal," I growl. "I'll explain later. Can you help me or not?" After a long pause, he sighs. "Fine. I'll send over the raw footage, but you didn't get it from me." "Understood." I hang up, my pulse pounding. This is it, the smoking gun. By the time the files hit my inbox, I'm pacing the room like a caged animal. The first video shows Eric and Lisa checking into the hotel together, laughing like they don't have a care in the world. I fast forward to the fire alarm. There they are again, stumbling into the hall, Lisa clutching that damn handbag. Rage boils beneath my skin, but I don't let it take over. I need to think, plan. This is more than an affair. It's a betrayal on every level, and I'll make them both feel the weight of it. I call Lisa again. Straight to voicemail. Typical. My lips curl into a bitter smile. Let her think she's safe. When I strike, it'll be swift and devastating. The next call I make is to my lawyer. "Bill, it's Tyler. We need to talk, urgently." The lawyer's office feels colder than usual, though it's probably just me. Bill sits across the desk, his sharp suit a reminder that he doesn't do small cases. His brow furrows as I finish explaining. "So, you're sure?" he asks, his voice low but firm. "I've got the footage," I say, sliding the USB drive across the table. Time-stamped, clear as day. And the texts? They seal the deal. This isn't a fling, Bill. It's a full-blown betrayal. Bill plugs the drive into his computer, his face tightening as the footage plays. He leans back, steepling his fingers. "This changes everything. If she's been using shared funds for these meetings, you could push for financial restitution. But Tyler, This goes deeper than a divorce. I nod. It's not just about her. It's Eric too. Bill smirks. You've got a plan? More than a plan. I'm going to make sure they both regret crossing me. Bill raises an eyebrow but doesn't press. All right, I'll start the paperwork. You sure you're ready for the fallout? More than ready, I reply. This isn't about revenge, Bill. It's about justice. Back at the hotel, my laptop pings with an email. It's from Paul, more footage. As I click through the clips, a pattern emerges. Lisa and Eric have been meeting at different hotels for months. The timestamps align perfectly with her business trips. My stomach churns, but I file it away. This isn't the time for anger. It's the time for action. I pick up my phone and call Dave, an old friend who works in IT security. Dave, I need a favor. Shoot, he says, his tone casual. Track someone for me. 2 people. Actually, real-time location and any online activity. He whistles low. That's not a small ask, Ty. You sure you're up for what you'll find? I already know. I snap. I just need proof. Dave agrees, and within an hour, I have live pings for both Lisa and Eric. As expected, they're together. At a cafe just outside the city. My grip tightens on the phone. They're so bold, so casual, like they've gotten away with it. Not for long, I mutter, grabbing my keys. The cafe parking lot is quiet, but my heart races as I spot them inside. They sit by the window, laughing over coffee. Lisa leans in, her hand brushing against Eric's. It's surreal, watching this scene unfold like some sick parody of our life together. I don't confront them, not yet. Instead, I snap a few photos from the street, making sure to capture their intimate gestures. This isn't for me. It's for the case. Cold, hard evidence. As I drive away, a thought strikes me. They think they're safe because I'm out of town, but they've underestimated me. That ends now. Back at the hotel, I open my laptop and draft an anonymous email to Eric's wife, Claire. She deserves to know what her husband has been up to. Attaching the photos and a copy of the hotel footage, I hesitate for only a moment before hitting send. Checkmate, I whisper, watching the email disappear into cyberspace. The drive back home feels heavier than usual, each mile weighing on me as I rehearse what I'll do next. My phone vibrates in the cup holder. It's Claire, Eric's wife. Hello? I answer, keeping my voice neutral. Tyler, she says, her voice trembling. I got your email. I don't even know what to say. I figured you deserve to know, I reply. This isn't just about me. It's about both of us. There's a pause, then a sharp inhale. What are you going to do? I have a plan, I say carefully, but I need your help. Claire agrees to meet me at a neutral spot, an old diner on the outskirts of town. When I arrive, she's already there, her eyes red and puffy. We sit across from each other, the tension palpable. Eric's been distant for months, she says, her voice cracking. I thought it was work stress, but now, God, I was so blind. You're not alone in that, I admit, but we can't dwell on what we missed. We need to focus on what's next. Claire nods, her jaw tightening. What do you need from me? I want to catch them in the act, I explain. They think they're untouchable, that we're too clueless to figure it out. Let's prove them wrong. Her eyes flash with determination. How? Tomorrow, I say, leaning in. They're meeting again. I've got their location. I'll handle the confrontation, but having you there will make it undeniable. Are you in? Claire takes a deep breath, then nods. I'm in. The next morning, I'm up before dawn, checking the tracker on my phone. Lisa and Eric are on the move, heading toward a boutique hotel in the city. The audacity of it all stokes the fire in my chest. I call Claire. They're on their way. Meet me there. By the time we arrive, they're already inside. Claire and I stand in the lobby, my heart pounding as we watch the elevator doors close behind them. I check the tracker, room 312. Perfect. The manager, a wiry man with a clipboard, approaches us. Can I help you? Yes, I say, flashing my badge. It's an old security credential, technically expired, but convincing enough. We need access to room 312. It's urgent. He hesitates, glancing between me and Claire. Is there A problem? There will be if you don't cooperate, I say, my tone firm but calm. Reluctantly, he nods. Follow me. The elevator ride feels endless. When we reach the door, I motion for Claire to stand back. Let me go first. The manager unlocks the door, and I push it open. Inside, the scene is exactly what I expected. Lisa and Eric, caught mid-laugh, their smug expressions freezing as they see me. Tyler? Lisa stammers, her face draining of color. Surprise, I say coldly, stepping aside to let Claire in. Lisa's eyes dart to Eric, panic written all over her face. This isn't what it looks like. Claire's voice cuts through the room like a blade. Save it. We've seen enough. For the first time, Eric looks genuinely afraid. Tyler, let's talk about this. I laugh, low and bitter. Talk? Now you want to talk? You've been lying to my face for months. There's nothing to discuss. Lisa starts to cry, but I don't let it sway me. Pack your things, both of you. It's over. As they scramble to dress, I pull out my phone and take a picture of them together. One final piece of evidence. I turn to Claire. You ready to leave? She nods, her face set in steely resolve. Together, we walk out of the room, leaving Lisa and Eric to their pathetic excuses. Walking out of that hotel room feels like stepping into a new chapter of my life, but the weight of what just happened lingers. Claire and I sit in the cafe across the street, the silence between us heavy. She stares into her coffee cup, her hands trembling. I don't know what I'll tell the kids, she murmurs. Tell them the truth, eventually, I say, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. They deserve to know who their father really is. She nods, her lips pressed into a thin line. And you? What now? I'm filing for divorce, I reply without hesitation. I've already started the process. Claire looks at me, her eyes full of sympathy and resolve. I'll do the same. They made their choices, and now they'll face the consequences. As we part ways, I feel a strange sense of camaraderie. Claire and I didn't ask for this, but now we're bound by the betrayal we've both endured. When I get home, the house is eerily quiet. Lisa's car isn't in the driveway, and for that, I'm grateful. I need time to think, to process everything. I sit at the dining table, staring at the divorce papers Bill prepared. Signing my name feels both liberating and heartbreaking. The sound of a car pulling up jolts me from my thoughts. Lisa walks in, her face pale and tear-streaked. She freezes when she sees the papers in front of me. What's this? She whispers, her voice trembling. It's over, Lisa, I say, meeting her gaze. I know everything. She shakes her head, her tears falling faster. Tyler, please, let me explain. Explain? I scoff, the bitterness rising in my throat. Explain how you've been sneaking around with Eric for months? How you lied to my face every single day? Go ahead. I'd love to hear it. Her lips quiver, but she doesn't speak. The silence stretches, and I can see the realization dawning in her eyes. There's no way out of this. I made a mistake, she finally says, her voice barely a whisper. A mistake? I snap, slamming my hand on the table. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. What you did, that's deliberate. That's betrayal. She flinches but doesn't fight back. Instead, she sinks into the chair across from me, her head in her hands. I didn't mean for it to happen, she sobs. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you do it? I demand, my voice rising. Why throw away everything we built? She doesn't answer. And honestly, I don't care. Her excuses won't change anything. I push the papers toward her. Sign them, and pack your things. I want you out by tonight. Her head snaps up, her eyes wide with shock. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious, I say, standing up. I'll be back in a few hours. Don't be here when I return. As I walk out the door, I feel a strange sense of calm. This is just the beginning, but for the first time in months, I feel like I'm in control. I drive aimlessly for hours, the night swallowing the roads as I replay the confrontation in my mind. The divorce papers, her tears, the lies. It's all swirling in my head like a storm I can't escape. But I won't let it consume me. Not now. Not when there's still so much to do. The bar I pull into isn't one I frequent, but tonight it seems fitting. Dim lights, quiet music, and no familiar faces. I order a whiskey neat and let the burn remind me that I'm still here, still standing. My phone vibrates on the counter. It's a message from Claire. Eric just left the house. He didn't take much. Thank you for helping me see the truth. I don't respond, but I raise my glass in a silent toast to her. Claire's stronger than she realizes, and maybe I am too. The bartender nods at me, sliding another whiskey across the counter. Rough night? I chuckle bitterly. You could say that. He doesn't press, and I appreciate the silence. By the time I finish my drink, I've made up my mind. It's time to focus on what comes next. When I return home, the house is dark. Lisa's car is gone, and the only sound is the steady ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall. For a moment, I stand there, taking it all in. This was our home, our sanctuary, and now it feels like a hollow shell. I head upstairs to the bedroom. Her side of the closet is empty, and the sight of it hits harder than I expected. I sit on the edge of the bed, staring at the blank space where her things used to be. But the pain is fleeting, replaced by a growing sense of determination. The next morning, I call my lawyer. Bill, I want to move forward with everything. Full divorce proceedings, no delays. Bill's voice is steady, professional. Understood. I'll make sure it's airtight. As I hang up, a thought strikes me. Lisa and Eric's betrayal wasn't just personal, it was public. Everyone who saw that news footage knows. And that includes their colleagues, their friends. If they thought walking out of my life would be easy, they're about to learn otherwise. I spend the rest of the day gathering every piece of evidence I've collected, the hotel footage, the texts, the photos. I compile it all into a neat folder labeled Truth. It's not about revenge. It's about making sure they can't escape the consequences of their actions. By evening, I'm ready. I send the file to Eric's boss, Lisa's charity board, and a few select friends who've been on the receiving end of their lies. My message is simple. Actions have consequences. This is what they didn't want you to see. As I hit send, a weight lifts off my shoulders. I don't know what the fallout will be, but I know this much. They won't be able to hide. The morning is unusually quiet, but the calm feels deceptive. My phone starts buzzing before I even finish my coffee. The first message is from an old mutual friend of Lisa's and mine. Tyler, is this true? I just saw the file you sent. I'm so sorry. I don't reply. I don't need to. The evidence speaks louder than I ever could. A second message follows, this time from Claire. Eric's been called into the office. They're furious. Thank you for sending everything. I set the phone down and sip my coffee, staring out the window at the backyard Lisa and I once cared for together. It feels like another life. My thoughts are interrupted by the doorbell. Standing on the porch is Karen, one of Lisa's closest friends. Her expression is tight, a mix of pity and judgment. Can we talk? I step aside, letting her in, though I already know what this is about. She perches on the edge of the couch, her hands wringing a tissue. I saw what you sent, she begins. And I need to understand. Is it really that bad? I lean against the doorway, arms crossed. It's worse, Karen. That file is just the tip of the iceberg. She sighs, her shoulders slumping. I always thought something was off, but I didn't want to believe it. Lisa, she's been my friend for years. She was my wife, I say coldly. But that didn't stop her, did it? Karen flinches but doesn't argue. What happens now? I move on, I reply firmly. And they deal with the mess they created. Karen nods, standing up. For what it's worth, Tyler, I'm sorry. I didn't know. None of us did, I say, opening the door for her. But now we do. As Karen leaves, my phone buzzes again. This time, it's an unknown number. I hesitate before answering. Tyler, a male voice says, tense and clipped. It's Eric. What do you want? I growl, barely holding back my anger. Listen, I don't know what you're trying to do, but this is going too far, he snaps. Sending that file to everyone? Are you trying to ruin my life? I laugh bitterly. Ruin your life? Eric, you did that all on your own. I just made sure people knew the truth. This isn't over, he says, his voice shaking. You'll regret this. Not as much as you'll regret ever crossing me, I reply, hanging up before he can say another word. For a moment, I stand there, the adrenaline coursing through me. Eric's words hang in the air like a threat, but they don't scare me. If anything, they fuel my resolve. The day stretches on, each hour bringing more fallout. Claire texts again, letting me know Eric's been suspended from work pending an investigation. Lisa, too, has been asked to step down from one of her charity positions. The consequences are piling up, and I can't deny the satisfaction it brings. By evening, my house feels strangely empty, the silence a reminder of everything that's changed. But for the first time in weeks, I feel a glimmer of hope. This isn't the end. It's a new beginning. The next day begins with another flurry of calls and messages, but this time, I ignore them. I've done what I needed to do. Now it's up to Lisa and Eric to face the fallout. By late morning, though, a persistent knock at the door drags me back into the chaos. I swing the door open to find Lisa standing there, her face pale and drawn. Her usual polished appearance is gone. Her hair's a mess, and her eyes are rimmed with red. She steps inside without waiting for an invitation. You ruined everything, she says, her voice trembling. Do you even realize what you've done? I close the door and lean against it, crossing my arms. I just told the truth, Lisa. That's more than you ever gave me. She stares at me, her eyes narrowing. You didn't have to send it to everyone. You humiliated me. Humiliated you? I laugh bitterly. Lisa, you did that yourself. All I did was shine a light on it. Her anger falters for a moment, replaced by something that almost looks like regret. I made a mistake, Tyler, but we could have worked through it. Instead, you've destroyed us. There was nothing left to destroy, I say coldly. You and Eric took care of that. She flinches at his name, but her defiance returns quickly. You're not innocent either. You've been distant for months, always working, always away. I shake my head, incredulous. So that's your excuse? I was working to build a life for us, Lisa, and while I was doing that, you were tearing it down. She doesn't respond, and the silence stretches between us. Finally, she says, What happens now? You sign the divorce papers, I reply, and you leave. For good. Her face crumples, but I don't let it affect me. I've spent enough time second-guessing myself, questioning if I could have done something different. The truth is, this was always her choice. She turns toward the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. I did love you, Tyler. I don't respond, and after a moment, she slips out, leaving me alone in the quiet house once more. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzes with a message from Claire. Eric is staying at a motel. He's furious but won't stop blaming everyone but himself. I smirk, typing back, That sounds about right. Let me know if you need anything. Her reply is immediate. You've done enough already. Thank you. As the evening settles in, I find myself in the garage, tinkering with an old motorcycle I'd been meaning to fix up. The rhythmic clinking of tools and the scent of oil are strangely calming, a reminder that life goes on, even in the face of chaos. When the doorbell rings again, I almost ignore it, assuming it's Lisa back for another round. But when I open the door, it's Claire. I needed to get out of the house, she says, offering a small, weary smile. I step aside, letting her in. You picked the right place. We sit in the living room, sharing stories and silence in equal measure. For the first time in days, I feel a flicker of peace. The storm isn't over, but I'm not facing it alone. Claire sits across from me, a mug of coffee warming her hands. The quiet between us feels less like tension and more like solidarity, two people bound by a betrayal that neither of us asked for. I keep going over it in my head, she says finally, her voice barely above a whisper. How did I miss it? The signs were there, weren't they? I take a sip of my own coffee, letting her words settle. We both missed it, but that's because we trusted them. That's what makes this hurt so much. She nods, her gaze fixed on the swirling liquid in her cup. So, what now? That depends, I reply. What do you want to happen next? Claire sets the mug down, her jaw tightening. I want him to feel what I've felt. The betrayal. the humiliation. I want him to understand that his actions have consequences. Then we make sure he does, I say, leaning forward. But not out of revenge. This isn't about sinking to their level. It's about setting the record straight, for us, for everyone. She gives me a small, determined nod. All right, where do we start? The next few days are a whirlwind of quiet, calculated moves. Claire and I work together, digging deeper into Eric and Lisa's shared history. The more we uncover, the clearer the picture becomes. This wasn't some fleeting affair. It was a carefully maintained secret, with lies stacked on top of lies. Using the evidence we've compiled, Claire reaches out to Eric's boss again. Armed with hotel receipts, text records, and photos, she presents a damning case for his dismissal. The company's code of conduct leaves no room for interpretation. Eric is terminated on the spot. Meanwhile, I focus on Lisa. Her charity board holds a meeting to discuss her role in light of recent events. I don't attend, but I hear from a mutual contact that the decision is unanimous. Lisa is asked to step down. The reputation of the organization can't afford the scandal. One evening, as I'm sorting through documents in my study, Claire calls. "You're going to want to see this," she says, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and disbelief. She sends me a link to a local news site. The headline reads, "Scandal erupts as prominent couple's affair exposed amid hotel fire investigation." The article is thorough, referencing both Lisa and Eric by name. While it doesn't include the footage, the details leave little to the imagination. "This is it," Claire says. "This is the accountability they thought they'd escape." I lean back in my chair, staring at the screen. For the first time since this nightmare began, I feel something close to satisfaction. They won't be able to hide now. By the time the news spreads, the fallout is undeniable. Eric is ostracized at his golf club, where whispers of his affair travel faster than the carts on the green. Lisa, once a respected community figure, is met with cold stares and muttered judgments wherever she goes. Their perfect facades crumble, piece by piece. But for me, the real victory isn't in their downfall, it's in the freedom I've gained. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe again, unburdened by lies. Claire calls later that night, her voice lighter than I've ever heard it. "You know, Tyler, this might sound strange, but I think I needed this. To face the truth. To move forward." I smile, nodding even though she can't see me. We both did. Morning sunlight streams through the window as I sit at the kitchen table, staring at a folder brimming with documents. It's everything. Texts, photos, video clips. The evidence I've gathered isn't just about justice anymore. It's about ensuring I never question my actions. The truth is all here, in black and white. The doorbell rings, jarring me from my thoughts. When I open the door, it's Bill, my lawyer. He steps inside, carrying his own briefcase, his expression as sharp as ever. "You've done your homework," he says, gesturing to the folder on the table. "I had to," I reply. "I'm not just walking away from this. I need to make sure she can't twist the story." Bill nods, flipping through the papers. "This is solid. Between the footage and the financial records, Lisa doesn't have much to stand on." As for Eric, he lets out a low whistle. Let's just say his life is about to get a lot more complicated. A faint smile touches my lips, but it fades quickly. "I'm not looking to destroy them, Bill. I just want them to face the truth. And they will," he assures me. "Now, let's talk next steps." We go over the details of the divorce proceedings, ensuring everything is airtight. By the time Bill leaves, I feel more in control than I have in weeks. The plan is set, and for once, the future doesn't feel like a black hole. That evening, my phone buzzes with a message from Claire. "Eric's officially been let go. He's staying at a friend's place for now." "Good," I reply. "That's one step forward." Claire's response is immediate. "Lisa's not taking it well. She called me earlier, crying. Said she doesn't know where to go." I hesitate before typing back. She made her choice. Now she has to live with it. Claire doesn't argue. She knows as well as I do that we can't let pity cloud our judgment. The next morning, I take the first real step toward moving on. I spend hours boxing up Lisa's things, every item a reminder of the life we built, and the lies that tore it apart. By the time I'm done, the house feels emptier but lighter, like a weight has been lifted. Just as I finish, my phone buzzes again. This time, it's a call from an unknown number. I answer cautiously. Hello? Tyler, it's Eric. The voice on the other end growls. My grip tightens on the phone. What do you want? You've gone too far, he snaps. I lost my job, my reputation, everything. Do you think this makes you the hero? I don't need to be a hero, I reply coldly. I just needed the truth to come out. This isn't over, he says, his tone dripping with venom. You think you've won, but you haven't. Eric, I say evenly, the difference between you and me is that I don't need to win. I just needed you to lose. There's a pause, then the line goes dead. I set the phone down, my heart pounding. His threats are empty. I've already taken everything he thought he had. Still, his words linger, a reminder that this fight isn't quite over. But I'm ready for whatever comes next. The phone call with Eric leaves a bad taste in my mouth, his parting words echoing long after the line went dead. His desperation is clear, but it's also dangerous. People who've lost everything have nothing left to lose. I sit at my desk, staring at the folders of evidence I've compiled. My plan was calculated, strategic, and executed perfectly. But now, Eric's venomous tone makes me wonder if he's planning something reckless. I pick up my phone and call Claire. She answers on the second ring. Tyler, she says, her voice carrying a note of unease. Is everything all right? Eric called me. I say without preamble. He's angry, and he's not thinking straight. She lets out a heavy sigh. He's been calling me too, saying it's my fault he's lost everything, that I betrayed him by working with you. Has he said anything specific? Anything that might suggest he's planning something? No, she replies, but there's hesitation in her voice. Just threats. Empty ones, I hope. I wouldn't take any chances, I say firmly. Keep your doors locked, and let me know if he shows up or tries to contact you again. Do you think he'd actually do something? She asks, her voice faltering. I don't know, I admit, but I'm not going to underestimate him. After hanging up, I sit back in my chair, my mind racing. Eric's anger is a loose end I didn't account for, and loose ends have a way of unraveling even the best-laid plans. Later that evening, as I'm double-checking the locks on my doors and windows, my phone buzzes with a text. It's from a number I don't recognize. The message is short and cryptic. You think this is over. It's not. I stare at the screen, my pulse quickening. Eric. It has to be him. Rather than respond, I forward the message to Bill and call him immediately. He answers groggily, his voice thick with sleep. Bill, it's Tyler, I say, pacing the living room. I just got a threatening text. I'm sure it's from Eric. There's a pause, then Bill says, save it, document everything. If he escalates, we'll involve the police. He already escalated, I snap. I'm not waiting for him to make the next move. Calm down, Tyler, Bill says evenly. You've got the upper hand. Don't let him rattle you. I end the call, unsatisfied but resolved. If Eric wants to play games, he's about to find out I don't lose. The rest of the night is restless, every creak and shadow in the house setting me on edge. By morning, I've made up my mind. Eric won't get the satisfaction of seeing me unsettled. I contact a private investigator I've worked with before, a no-nonsense guy named Frank. If Eric's plotting something, Frank will find out before he has the chance to act. Keep an eye on him, I tell Frank over the phone. I don't trust him not to do something stupid. Frank agrees, and for the first time in days, I feel like I'm taking back control. Eric might think he can intimidate me, but he's about to learn that I'm always one step ahead. Frank doesn't waste time. By late afternoon, he calls me with an update, his voice steady and professional. Tyler, you were right to be cautious. Eric's been busy. What do you mean? I ask, my grip tightening on the phone. He's been meeting with someone, looks like a lawyer. But that's not all. He's also been talking to some guys who don't exactly look like upstanding citizens. Shady types. My stomach churns. Shady how? Cash transactions, hushed conversations in back alleys. He's up to something, but I don't have the full picture yet. I'll keep digging. Thanks, Frank. Keep me posted. As I hang up, a wave of unease washes over me. Eric isn't just angry, he's desperate. And desperation makes people unpredictable. I replay Frank's words in my mind, trying to piece together Eric's next move. That evening, as I sit at the dining table, my phone buzzes with another text. This time, it's from Claire. Eric showed up at the house. He was banging on the door, yelling. I didn't let him in. He left after a few minutes, but I'm scared. I call her immediately, my voice firm. Claire, you need to file a restraining order. This is escalating. I was thinking the same thing, she says, her voice shaky. But what about you? If he's this angry at me, what's he going to do to you? I'm handling it, I reply. Don't worry about me. Just focus on keeping yourself safe. After the call, I sit back, my mind racing. Eric is spiraling, and it's only a matter of time before he does something reckless. But I refuse to let him dictate my actions. If he wants a fight, I'll be ready. The next morning, I meet with Frank in person. We sit in a small diner, the hum of conversations around us masking our own. He slides a folder across the table. Here's everything I've got so far, he says. There's a pattern to his movements. Lawyer meetings during the day, shady dealings at night. He's trying to cover all his bases, but he's sloppy. I open the folder and scan the contents. Photos of Eric with unfamiliar faces, timestamps, and notes detailing his actions. Frank's thorough, as always. What do you think he's planning? I ask. Could be anything, Frank replies. Retaliation, blackmail, maybe even trying to scare you off. Whatever it is, he's not thinking rationally. I nod, closing the folder. Keep tracking him. I need to know the moment he steps out of line. Frank agrees, and as I leave the diner, a plan starts forming in my mind. Eric thinks he's unpredictable, but he's forgetting one thing. I know him. I've known him for years. And that familiarity is about to become my greatest weapon. Back at home, I review Frank's findings, cross-referencing them with the evidence I already have. Patterns start to emerge, clues hidden in the chaos of Eric's actions. By the time night falls, I have a clearer picture of what he might be planning and how I can stop him. The following day, I dive into full preparation mode. Frank's information, combined with my own instincts, paints a clear picture. Eric isn't just lashing out. He's plotting something that could escalate dangerously. The question is whether he's bold enough to follow through. I spend hours organizing my evidence, ensuring that every detail is easily accessible. If Eric decides to make a move, I'll be ready to counter it. The video clips, text messages, and photos are my ammunition, and I'll use them strategically if he forces my hand. Mid-morning, Frank calls again. Tyler, Eric's been meeting with one of those shady guys I told you about. The same guy, multiple times. Do we know who he is? I ask, leaning forward in my chair. Not yet, but I've got a lead. I'm running his plates and checking local records. Shouldn't take long. Good, I reply. Keep me in the loop. As I hang up, my phone buzzes with another text from Claire. Restraining order is filed. Police came by for a statement. They're taking it seriously. It's a relief, but only a small one. While Claire is taking the right steps, I can't shake the feeling that Eric's fixation on me makes him more dangerous. This isn't just about his humiliation. It's personal. Later that evening, Frank calls again. Got an ID on Eric's contact. Name's Victor Reyes. Known for petty crimes, a couple of assault charges, and some involvement in underground dealings. What would Eric want with someone like that? I ask, my stomach tightening. Could be intimidation, could be something worse, Frank says. Either way, it's not good. Keep following him, I say firmly. I want to know everything. Frank agrees, and as I hang up, I feel the weight of the situation pressing down on me. Eric's actions are escalating, and I can't afford to let my guard down. The next morning, I visit Bill to discuss the latest developments. His office feels sterile and unyielding, much like the legal process itself. Victor Reyes, Bill repeats, scribbling the name on his notepad. If Eric's associating with someone like that, it could backfire on him legally. We'll document it. It's not just about legal consequences, I say. It's about what Eric might do next. I need to stay ahead of him. Bill nods. Understood. I'll notify the authorities about Reyes. In the meantime, make sure you're protected. As I leave Bill's office, my resolve hardens. Eric thinks he's cornered me, but he doesn't realize I've been watching his every move. The key is to stay one step ahead, to anticipate his actions before he can carry them out. That evening, I sit in my living room, the house quiet around me. I review Frank's latest report, my mind racing with possibilities. Eric's desperation is driving him to take risks, but every move he makes gives me more leverage. By the time this is over, he'll regret ever crossing me. The next day begins with a flurry of activity. Frank calls early, his tone sharper than usual. Tyler, Eric's ramping things up. He met with Reyes again last night, this time at a secluded spot on the outskirts of town. What happened? I ask, my chest tightening. They exchanged something. A package. I couldn't get close enough to see what it was, but whatever it is, it's not good. My jaw clenches. Eric is no longer just acting out. He's planning something deliberate. It's only a matter of time before he makes his move. By midday, I receive another call, this time from Claire. Her voice shakes as she speaks. Tyler, Eric left me a voicemail. He said if I don't convince you to back off, there will be consequences. What does he mean? It's a bluff, I say, though the words feel hollow even as I speak them. He's desperate and trying to scare us. But what if it's not? She presses. What if he's serious? I'll handle it, I assure her. You just focus on keeping yourself safe. After hanging up, I call Frank. We need to find out what's in that package. Can you track Reyes? Already on it, he replies. Give me a few hours. The wait is agonizing, every passing minute thick with tension. By evening, Frank calls back, and his voice is grim. Reyes made a drop, he says. Left the package at Eric's motel. My guess? It's meant for you. I grip the phone tightly. Do you think it's dangerous? Could be anything, Frank replies. A scare tactic, blackmail material, or worse. You need to be careful. Understood, I say, my voice steady despite the churn in my gut. Keep watching him. I need to know Eric's every move. After hanging up, I sit in silence, my mind racing. If Eric thinks he can intimidate me, he's underestimated just how far I'm willing to go to protect what's mine. The next morning, I get a text from Frank. Eric left the motel. He's on his way to you. Be ready. I stand in the living room, every sense on high alert. Minutes later, a car screeches to a halt outside. Peering through the window, I see Eric step out, his face a mask of rage. He clutches a small package in one hand, his other balled into a fist. I open the door before he can knock, my stance firm. What do you want, Eric? His lips curl into a sneer as he thrusts the package toward me. You think you've won? You think you can just destroy my life and walk away? I didn't destroy your life, Eric. You did that all on your own, I say coldly, not even glancing at the package. His face flushes red, and for a moment, I think he might actually lunge at me. But instead, he steps closer, his voice low and venomous. This isn't over, Tyler. Not by a long shot. I hold his gaze, unflinching. You're right. It's not. But when it is, you'll be the one who's finished. Eric glares at me, his chest heaving, before turning and storming back to his car. As he speeds away, I glance at the package he left behind. Whatever game he's playing, it's clear he's losing control, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. As soon as Eric's car disappears down the street, I close the door and set the package on the kitchen counter. It's small, wrapped hastily, with my name scrawled across the top. For a moment, I just stare at it, the weight of its implications pressing down on me. My phone buzzes. It's Frank. Eric just left your place, didn't he? Yeah, I reply, my voice tight. He left me something. Don't open it yet, Frank warns. Could be a setup. I'm on my way. I nod, even though he can't see me. Hurry. When Frank arrives, he's carrying a small kit, the kind you see in crime dramas. He examines the package carefully, wearing gloves as he checks for anything suspicious. After a tense few minutes, he gives me the all clear. It's not dangerous, just a stack of papers. I exhale, the tension easing slightly. Let's see what he's trying to pull. Frank opens the package, revealing its contents, a collection of printed photos and typed letters. As we sift through them, the pieces fall into place. The photos are doctored, showing me in compromising situations with women I've never met. The letters are written as if by those women, detailing fake affairs and accusing me of infidelity. Frank lets out a low whistle. Classic deflection. He's trying to discredit you. I laugh bitterly, shaking my head. He's desperate. Desperate people can still be dangerous, Frank reminds me. We need to counter this before he tries to spread it around. I grab my phone and call Bill. When he answers, I explain the situation, describing the photos and letters in detail. Send me everything, he says firmly. If he tries to use this, we'll shut it down before it gains traction. It's weak at best. After hanging up, I turn to Frank. Keep an eye on him. If he's stooping this low, he might try something worse. You got it, Frank replies. Just stay vigilant. The rest of the day is a blur as I send the materials to Bill and prepare for the next wave of Eric's antics. By evening, Claire calls, her voice strained. Eric showed up at my place again, she says. This time he was yelling about how he's going to expose you. He's trying to discredit me, I explain. But don't worry, Bill and I are handling it. Be careful, Tyler, she says softly. He's not thinking rationally. I know, I reply, and that's why he's going to lose. As night falls, I find myself on edge, every sound and shadow putting me on high alert. But beneath the tension, there's a growing sense of resolve. Eric thinks he can scare me, manipulate me, drag me down to his level. But he doesn't realize that every move he makes only strengthens my position. The next morning, Frank calls with an update. Eric's been busy, but it's all noise. He's trying to push those fake photos to anyone who'll listen, but no one's biting. Your lawyer's doing a solid job shutting it down. Good, I say. Let him burn himself out. As I hang up, a sense of calm settles over me. Eric's unraveling, and it's only a matter of time before his house of cards collapses entirely. I've played this carefully, strategically, and now the endgame is in sight. The days that follow are a whirlwind of decisive moves. Bill keeps me updated on the legal front, shutting down Eric's pathetic attempts to smear my name before they gain any traction. Frank's surveillance confirms what I already suspected. Eric is spiraling, burning every bridge he once relied on. His desperation is his undoing. One morning, Claire calls with a mix of relief and exhaustion in her voice. Eric's gone, packed up and left the motel. No idea where he's going. He's running out of options, I reply. He'll try to save face, but it's over for him. Thank you, Tyler, she says after a pause, for standing up to him, for helping me see the truth. You don't have to thank me, I reply. We were both victims in this. We just handled it differently. After hanging up, I sit back and take a deep breath. For the first time in weeks, the tension in my chest begins to ease. The storm is passing, and I've come out the other side stronger. That evening, I get a call from Frank. I've got some news for you, he says, his tone lighter than usual. Eric's landed himself in trouble. The guy he's been dealing with, Reyes? Turns out he's under police investigation. They caught Eric trying to dump some documents connected to their dealings. I let out a laugh, the sound surprising even me. You're telling me Eric implicated himself? Pretty much, Frank replies. He's looking at charges now, Tyler. Whatever he was planning, it's dead in the water. It's poetic, really. Eric's own recklessness sealed his fate. As I hang up with Frank, I feel a sense of closure. This fight is over. The next few weeks are a blur of rebuilding. The divorce moves forward without a hitch, and Lisa's attempts to reach out go unanswered. She sends letters, leaves voicemails, even shows up at the house once, but I don't engage. She made her choice and I've made mine. Claire and I stay in touch, occasionally meeting for coffee to share updates and support each other. She's moving forward, focusing on her kids and reclaiming her life. I admire her strength. It mirrors my own journey. One afternoon, as I'm sorting through the last of Lisa's things to donate, my phone buzzes with a text from Bill. Divorce finalized. It's official. Congratulations. I set the phone down and look around the house. It feels different now, lighter. This is my space again, a place to start fresh. That evening, I pour myself a glass of whiskey and step out onto the porch. The sunset paints the sky in shades of orange and gold, a reminder that even after the darkest storms, there's beauty waiting to be found. This isn't the ending I imagined, but it's the one I've earned. And as I take a sip of my drink, I realize I'm ready for whatever comes next. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Have you ever faced a betrayal like this? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping tales.